in general, to do it or not to do it, to face the challenge or not to face the challenge. So let's say he chooses to face the challenge. He's not going to run away from it. But now there are two paths. How's he going to deal with it? Either he's going to try and figure out a way around it, a way to outsmart it, a way to circumvent the challenge. That's one way. Try to be very clever. The Rebbe Shmuel, the fourth Rebbe of Lubavitch, he said, the way of the world is that way. When they meet a challenge, they try to figure out, how can I get around this? How can I get under it? How can I avoid it? I don't pay attention to it, he said. For me, I just go over it. So that's why he said lechatchila river. That's Yiddish. It means from the get-go, I'm over it. I'm not fazed by it. I don't pay attention to it. I just do what I have to do. So King David says seems to be saying that's the right thing to do. Trust in Hashem and do good. In other words, don't be overwhelmed by your challenge. This is where Hashem put you. That's your shlichus. A person could feel they're a victim. Why does this have to happen to me? When I was a kid, there used to be a saying in a satirical magazine, if into every life a little rain must fall, how come I'm always standing under a waterfall? Why does it always has to happen to me? David Melech says no. He says, trust in Hashem and do good. You have a challenge. Hashem wants you to be in that challenge, and He wants you to work with it and do good. That's where He put you. This is your shlichus. Do good. So powerful. Very powerful. Katat. What's the follow-up? Inherit the land. Which land? The land where you're living, your dorm, the house where you'd like to live, the country where you'd like to be. Inherit land. He's talking about Israel, land that was promised to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Is he talking about the world to come? Or beyond that, the world of the resurrection, after Mashiach comes. You're going to inherit it. Do good. Do good is what's going to come. You're going to inherit the land. And you're going to feed on emunah. Re'eh, emunah, urei, emunah. Urei is a term for a shepherd. A shepherd is a raya, a person who takes care of sheep. And what does he do? He gives them to graze in good pastures. Urei, so Mashiach, the Rebbe, David Melech, our prophets, our teachers, give us to graze in pastures of faith. So that we graze not on grass, but on faith. Faith sustains us. So it says, do good, you'll inherit the land, and you will be nourished by your faith. Just wanted to share that with you. Example, I read on Shabbos the story of a young man in Haifa who started out on shlichus there. Very difficult shlichus. He's on campus. Israelis in general can be tough. They have their own ideas about right and wrong, and their own sense of self-justification. I live in Israel. I don't have to do this stuff. I have a bigger mitzvah than all your mitzvahs. I live in Israel. It's true. It is a big mitzvah. But you still have to have matzah on Pesach. So this guy's working in Haifa. The university is not near any religious organizations or synagogues, mikvahs, anything. And the students aren't teenagers, which are anyway could be difficult. There are people who've been 3 years in the army and a year or so to chill out, go to Thailand, they come to America. And now they're coming for a reason. Maybe they want to get a profession, they want to get a degree, they want to become something or other, want to study a subject. Because they have a purpose. They're not going to college in order to party like teenagers in America. So that's hard. And second of all, there's nobody on campus. Everybody's fighting and drafted, and there's a war going on. So he's out in the streets blowing shofar for people who are passing by on Rosh Hashanah. And all of a sudden, whoa, he's soaking wet. He looks up, somebody threw a pot, a whole bucket of water on top of him. And he looks up and she says, "Get out of here, we don't need you here, take your horn and go someplace else." In Hebrew. He says, Shana Tova, and he moves on. Now, if this happened this year, then I suppose the next scenario is on Shabbos. Shabbos came right after Rosh Hashanah. If it happened last year, maybe it happened on the following Shabbos. But he sees the same lady quietly coming into shul. What's his shul? Is it his house? Is it a Chabad house? I don't know, it didn't say. And she takes a seat innocuously at the back. So he goes over to her and he says, "Thank you for coming. Shana Tova, Umatuka, good, sweet year." So she says, "I don't know if you remember me." He says, "Oh, yes, I surely do remember you." And she says, "Well, I want to tell you, last night I had a dream. My mother came to me in my dream. And she said, when we lived in Russia, we couldn't do much. But every year we heard the shofar. Me, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, we always heard the shofar. How could you scream at a person to take his shofar and go somewhere else?" And I woke up. So I came this morning to apologize. And I think that illustrates, that's what the pasuk is all about. Just trust in Hashem. This is where Hashem wants you to be. Even with the water, with everything. That's what Hashem wants for you. Now do good. Do good. Inherit the land. And his level of emunah now is much greater, much higher than it was before. He was nourished by his emunah. Okay, chapter 20, Tehillim. Hashem should have mercy. And enable, he could do it, Hashem can do anything. He can just reveal himself. And everybody will see the evil and the deceit and the falsehood of their ways, and everyone will start doing good. And the Hamas people will free all the hostages and be begging the families, how can they make it up to them? And what about the families of those they killed? That's all Hashem's business. But, so we say he should have mercy upon us. Our soldiers should be victorious in war. And the suffering hostages should be freed. Hashem can do it, just like that. We've seen tremendous miracles in the last few weeks. Unbelievable. 180 missiles were shot, long-range ballistic missiles shot at Israel, and they're very precise. And not one person was killed. Not one. Unbelievable. Put it in perspective. During the Gulf War, you were probably what? You were born? Were you born? Okay. 1990. You weren't born yet. You weren't even born yet. So the Gulf War, the king of Iraq was Saddam Hussein, a wicked, evil man. Life meant nothing to him. He had billions of dollars because he had tremendous amounts of oil, which he was selling to the world. And he was determined to destroy Israel. And he had from Russia these huge, gigantic missiles called Scud missiles from Russia. He shot 39 of them. He took over the country, neighboring country called Kuwait, which was very rich in oil, which is an illegal takeover, but he wanted it. So America was allied with Kuwait, and they said, we're not gonna let you do this. We're not gonna let you get away with it. And America declared war, said, you have just now declared war on us. And there was a war, and everybody was so nervous here in America. They thought, here this guy has been fighting with Iran for 20 years. His soldiers are experienced in war, and they know the territory, and we are not, and we don't know the territory, and they're in their own place, and we are coming in boats. It's going to be a long, hard war. Who knows even if we'll win? Oh, Americans. People were so nervous in America. January 15th was the deadline. We met the deadline, and he declared war. He began shooting these big Scud missiles at Israel. He said, it's war. I'm going to burn the whole of Israel. He shot 39 of these huge, gigantic, they were long like an oil truck, every one of them, huge missiles. Armed with poison gas, and they were selling gas masks. So the Rabbi said they're not going to need gas masks. They didn't. They didn't have poison gas in them after all, even though he had used poison gas against Iran in his war with Iran. Not one person was killed from these 39 missiles. There was a lot of damage. Whole buildings, apartment buildings were destroyed. Thousands of dwellings were destroyed. Not one person was killed. There's a famous picture of a guy in a building, trapped in the wreckage of the building, with his head sticking out between all the planks and everything. He was alive. He was rescued. He was alive. A lot of the missiles landed in the Mediterranean. There was one missile that landed right beside a pipe of an oil refinery, which would have been a huge explosion. It so happened that that particular pipe had been turned off at that moment. It was open miracles. And just in case anybody thought that it wasn't miraculous, so to prove the point, since American troops were at that point in Saudi Arabia, which was friendly with America, so he shot one last missile at Saudi Arabia, and 30, I don't forget, 25, 35 American soldiers were killed, just like that. So here, 39 of these missiles came to Israel, and not one person. There was only one person was killed, an elderly person who didn't know how to use his gas mask, and he suffocated from the gas mask. It was the only casualty of the war. So similarly here, we could think that these miracles are not happening, but they really are happening. Iran shot 180 missiles in one day at Israel, and not one person was killed. You know why? Because all the Israeli soldiers now are wearing tzitzis. And tzitzis make an invisible protective shield. That's what they are. They're a shield on your body. And they're wearing tefillin. And it says about tefillin, when the enemy will see the tefillin upon you, meaning the tefillin on your head, because they're going to see it. The tefillin on your arm could be covered by your sleeve. The tefillin on the head, they see it, and the fear of God will fall upon them. We have to have an army. We have to have weapons. But we have to have Hashem. Hashem makes the decisions who's going to survive and who's not. We're seeing a lot of miracles, The precision bombing with which they were able to eliminate Nasarallah, Yamach Shemoy, who was sending thousands of rockets at the north of Israel. Day after day after day after day until they went and they took him out. Why didn't they do it earlier? They weren't authorized. The government said, no, don't do it. They didn't want a major war. Didn't want to escalate into a major war, but they wanted to get rid of him. And the fact that they were able to carry out that mission without anybody knowing, without him escaping, without him even realizing what was happening, was a miracle. We have to recognize we're living in a time of open, revealed miracles. Because these events affect all of us. The American people do not realize that the threat of Islam is not just to Jews in Israel, it's to the whole world. Their agenda is to take over the world, just like they did 1,000 years ago. Islam started like 1,600 years ago. Peace by the sword. If you did not convert to Islam, they killed you. It was convert or die. And that is the ethos of the descendants of Yishmael today. Murderers. That's their nature. The natures. The Torah says about them that they're murderers and robbers, and their hand is against the whole mankind. And if you read their agenda in the Quran, or you go online to find out what it is, you see that's it. They come to a country, quiet, civilized, multiply, build up their population until they gain a position of power, and then now we're going to call the shots. That's it. That's their whole modus operandi. And it was driven home to people in New York, but they forgot about it. In 1994, when a Palestinian Arab, set out to kill the Rebbe and missed. He went out in a car loaded with ammunition. The Rebbe was having a cataract operation in the hospital. He knew about it. And his goal was to assassinate the Rebbe. And he missed. When the Rebbe left, he missed him. And there was a busload of 15, 16 boys who had come to pray at the hospital to Mount Sinai while the Rebbe was undergoing the operation. And he followed them, and as they came over the Brooklyn Bridge, he rode it and drove up beside them, and he opened fire, he sprayed the van with bullets. Wounding 4 boys, 2 of them not seriously, 1 of them very seriously. A bullet was lodged in his face, his chin, and the other one, the bullet hit him in the back of the head, and by the time he was dead. Took a few days till his Solit, and his name was Ari Halberstam, and the Jewish Children's Museum is named after him. Now that's on the Ari Halberstam. They renamed the bridge from where it happened. That's when terror came to New York for the first time. People have to remember, it can come to New York too. And that was a precursor to 9/11. You know what 9/11 was? Well, 3,000 people were killed in the World Trade Center. So people have to realize that Israel is not fighting a war alone. It's a war that affects the whole world. And if it's not stopped there, it'll come here. You see on the campuses, all the demonstrations and the riots and the intimidation. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I remember I saw a video of a young man, a teenager, white, in England, speaking with a Cockney accent, vowing to destroy Israel and free Palestine. What's it his business? Because he's probably born in an Islamic family who had been welcomed in England. He's like a fifth column. And you have this fifth column of Arabs and Islamics now in France in huge numbers, in Germany, in England, in Sweden, all these countries that after Afghanistan, they opened their doors to welcome all these poor, homeless, displaced Arabs. And you know what they got? They got Hamas. It's like a disease, gets in your body. How do you get rid of it? Okay. Chapter 20. Lam Natseh Mizmor David. Yancha Adonai B'yem Tzara. Remember, what did we say? Trust in Hashem and do good. Inherit the land and graze, and you'll be nourished by your faith in God, by your emunah. Yancha Adonai B'yem Tzara. Yisagev Hashem Elohei Yankev. You can read the English. Yishlach Ezohar Mikodesh. I'll also read the English. Chapter, verse number 3. May he send you help from the sanctuary. Sanctuary is the inner room of the Holy Temple, and support you from Zion. Zion is the base of Mikdash. Zion is also the name of the Jewish people. May he remember all your offerings and always accept favorably your sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill your every counsel, like your good resolutions, enable you to fulfill your resolutions. We will rejoice in your deliverance and raise our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord fulfill all your wishes. Now I know, says King David, that the Lord has delivered his anointed one, that's himself, answering him from his holy heavens. This is our King, King David, with mighty saving power of his right hand. That's why I told you last time, right hand, left hand. The right hand is kindness, left hand is might. Some rely on chariots, some on horses, cavalry, but we rely upon and invoke the name of the Lord our God. They bend and fall. We have risen and stand firm 3,337 years. Hashem, deliver us. May Hashem, our King, answer us on the day we call. Okay. Tanya. Where's my Tanya? Bring me a Tanya, please. Thank you. Chana.
Yes.
Chana, where's your family from originally? Rabanova.
I am from Ukraine. My
Ukraine.
family is Polish and Ukrainian.
So it's a Polish name.
That's actually, I'm not sure where it originates.
Well, Poland has
But yeah, probably like Polish.
a rich history of 1,000 years of Yiddishkeit. The Yidden said about Poland, it was Polanya, meaning Po in this place, Lan will dwell overnight, Yud K, the name of God. One overnight. Overnight, night stands for exile. During the time of our exile, this is where we're going to stay until the Holocaust.
Yeah.
At first, Rebbe didn't even want Shluchim to go to Poland.
Really?
Yeah, did not want them to go. Wicked people, terrible people. The Germans took them to operate the death camps.
Yeah, that's true.
And when Jews after survived the war went back to Poland because it was their home, wanted to go back to their home, there were riots and they rose. The Polish said, "We don't want you," and they killed them. They killed them. The war was over, but they still kept on killing them. The Rebbe didn't want people to go there, but they kept on coming and coming as they left Russia. They came to Poland, and until there were significant Jewish communities in Poland, like today. So there are shluchim now in Poland. All right. Let's get back to where we were. I'm going to skip some of this because it's going to slow us down a bit. So page 43, the top. If we're trying to figure out what does it mean, Abeinani, we have to understand what is a tzaddik and what is a rasha, what is a righteous person, what is a not righteous person, what is the Beinani. And our sages told us, we have this on page 1 of the Tanya, that righteous people are judged, and that means to say also motivated by their yetzer tov, their good inclination. We have different inclinations. We have a certain inclination to do good, an inner voice that urges us to do the right thing. And we have an inclination that urges us to be selfish. So it says righteous people are judged, that is to say, motivated by their yetzer tov. What's the proof? The proof is my heart is void within me. Who says this? King David said that. Meaning that he, King David, the Ahu who said it in the Psalms, did not have an evil nature. How did he get rid of it? We all have this question. I know I have an inclination to do selfish things. I go to a wedding, they serve ice cream, I like ice cream, but who told you to take seconds? My mother, Alei Hashem, God bless her soul, used to come back from weddings and things. She said, I knew I shouldn't have had that. I should have gone to that Viennese table. So how did he get rid of his selfish inclination? He said through fasting. What does it mean, fasting? Fasting doesn't mean dieting. Fasting means you don't give in to its suggestions. You don't listen to it. And if you don't listen to it, it gets smaller. You can starve it out of existence. But every time you indulge in your selfish inclinations, it gets stronger. So a person said to the Rebbe once, the Rebbe Tzemach said, the third Rebbe, excuse me, I heard that if a person doesn't speak any Lashon Hara for 40 days, that Elijah the prophet will reveal himself to him. I didn't say anything bad for 40 days, and it didn't happen. So he said, look out the window. What do you see? He says, I see there's a horse there grazing in the field. He said, well, that horse didn't say any Lashon Hara for the last 40 days either. He says, but Rebbe, he said, listen, another similar story. A guy said, I've been learning Hasidus for all these years, and I don't feel that I got anywhere. And the Rebbe said to him, I don't feel that I'm better or more sensitive or more refined or more spiritual. He says, yeah, because 40 years you slept in a good bed and you had 3 good meals a day. That didn't exactly refine your spiritual qualities. So King David fasted spiritually until his evil inclination could not open its mouth. Like the ventriloquist who supposedly had somebody in his box, but he was a ventriloquist, and you'd open the lid. You ever saw that? The Spanish ventriloquist, Senor Vicious, and he would open the box and say, all right, okay, close the box. It was a cute routine, very clever, and he'd go fast. That's what it was. The same thing, the person trying to be more refined has to close the box and keep the suggestions of the Yetzer Hara quiet until it can't open its mouth. And King David says, my heart is slain within me, meaning it's empty. So the word for slain is the same word as the word for empty. So when you slay the Yetzer Hara, then your heart, the left side of your heart is empty, because it says the right side of your heart is for your godly soul. The left side of your heart is where your selfish inclinations hang out, in the left side of the heart. And people understand anatomy, they can explain to you why this is connected with the functions of the physical functions of the left side of the heart. I can't explain that to you. I once had a nurse in this class, she was able to explain it. About how the heart pumps blood and then receives the hot oxygenated blood. And so, okay, there's my end of class warning. She'ein le Yetzer Hara. King David had no longer Yetzer Hara because he killed it by fasting. But now read the next line. Who's going to read it? Chana, can you read it? The fourth bold line. Whoever.
But whoever does not attain this decree of ridding himself of his evil nature, even though his virtues outnumber his sins, is not at all at the level and rank of a tzaddik.
So if you didn't get rid of your Yetzer Hara, that means you're not a tzaddik. So don't fool yourself. There are people, you know, a mother says, oh, my son is such a tzaddik. He says brachas every morning, and he remembers to bench, and he wears a yarmulke, and tzitzis. That's such a righteous child. He's a tzaddiko. Says the Alter Rebbe, we want to encourage everybody, but let's not fool ourselves. A tzaddik is a person who doesn't have an evil thing, that he doesn't do anything evil, doesn't do anything against what Hashem would want, doesn't say anything that Hashem himself would not say. Moshe Rabbeinu, he won't say anything that Moshe Rabbeinu himself would not say. And he doesn't even think something. Like I'm careful what I say, but you know, what I think is my private business. No. Thought is very powerful. He doesn't even think something that Hashem would not want him to think. That's a tzaddik. So if you didn't get to that level of killing your Yetzer Hara, so forget about being a tzaddik for the time being, but keep working at it, right? That's what we learned in King David says, trust in Hashem, do good, do more good, do more good, do good, say good, think good. Maybe you'll be a tzaddik. Or in your case, girls, that's a tzaddikus. Now the next line, Petra, this is why
our sages have expounded. The Almighty saw that the righteous virtues of the Raz and planted and spread them in every generation.
In other words, every generation has to have at least one Noah. Or who would save the generation? There must be at least one totally righteous person. Without it, the world can't exist. That's why Abaya said, if you, Rebbe, if you, Rabbi, are a Beinoni, we're all dead, because there's no one's going to be righteous. You are the most righteous one in our time. And so he planted them in every generation, and we have the tremendous merit. Just think about it. Millions of people in the world. How is it you ended up here? By what good grace did Hashem bring you here? He picked you up, picked your neshama up, and he guided you to meet the people who told you, go to Machon Yadus. That's where you got to go to find out the truth. And you see videos of the Rebbe, and you learn the teachings of the Rebbe. The Rebbe is such a person. Any picture of the Rebbe, any picture of the Rebbe, you see he's focused, completely focused, not on himself, on what Hashem wants from him. Do good. Trust in Hashem, do good. And look at these, any picture after picture after picture after picture, and you see a person who is totally in control and is serving Hashem at the moment of that picture. And that's what it says, that a tzaddik is the foundation of the world. The world is built upon his righteousness. Thank you very much. We'll see you We're gonna see you tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow we see you, and then that's it till after, when, till after Sukkot.
Thank you.
Really? We don't have class?
I don't know. After Kippur, then people are very busy. I guess, I don't know, I guess we'll have some classes during the following week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a question.
Because Wednesday is Sukkot. Wednesday night is Sukkot. So Monday, Tuesday, people are very busy getting ready for Sukkot. Oops, now I have to say a blessing.
I have
A wicked person doesn't forget, a wicked person forgets to say a blessing. We mustn't be like that. So, where's the siddur here? Here's the siddur. Here's the blessings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rabot v'chesed al kol ma she'ba'aras ha'olayis b'hem nefesh kol ha'adam chei ha'olamim.
I have a question.
Yeah, good, great.
Is the Rabbi still in our generation too?
What?
Is the Rabbi still our generation study, or is it already? It's already another generation, right?
What? What's the question?
If the Rabbi is still our generation study,
Yes.
or is there another
Yeah,
study?
this is the seventh generation from the Alter Rebbe,
Yeah,
and we're in that generation.
and what is the next generation coming?
Moshiach is the next generation.
Thank you.
This is it. This is it. You're here. You're in the right place. That's what it says in the song. Right? Inherit the land. Dwell in the land. This is the generation.
Amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing. Just keep it chill, you know. Keep it. Use your head. Don't get wild about it. It's exciting and it's wild, but you have to make sure you work with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's why anybody who makes it to this school, you have to understand, anybody who makes it to this school has been handpicked from heaven to be here. Think about your life, think about everything that happened and what brought you here, and you'll see that unbelievable coordination of events that made sure that you got here. It didn't come from nowhere.
Thank you.
I'm not a prophet. Just know that that's the way it is.
Yeah.
We're all in the same journey, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two things. Crocs and cross country.
Oh, yeah.
This true. Yeah, actually, yeah, that is before the day I came, it was September 25th. And actually, last year, on September 25th, I took my driver's license test, you know, and it was the day of Yom Kippur. So I passed it, but I took my driving test.
Right.
It was so funny because like it was the same thing. So never mind, it's not a story. But so like it's a good day because I passed it. And the day before I came, my visa, I didn't get my visa. It got mixed up. I had to go to the post office in order to get it. And I went there and they told me that it's not there. And then I had to go to the embassy. It's very close to each other, so like it was like a 5-minute walk. I was very lucky. And I went to the embassy, and you know, you can't get in without getting an appointment. And I was like, oh, I have to get my visa. And then I was like, a bit tense because I was very worried. Like, they told me that it's not there either. You should go back to the post office. So I called my best friend. I was like, SD, this cannot happen. I'm flying tomorrow, 6 a.m. It cannot happen. And I was like, I went to the post office with her. I was like crying. And I started like saying, okay, I am not going to leave the state, I'm gonna get my visa, because it's from here, if in the embassy, they tell me it's in the hospital, it's here. And it took them 1 hour to get my visa. They were looking for it in hi. They were looking for it everywhere. And there was this guy